Alright, welcome back to Honored Madman. This is a news video. As if any of you guys listening don't already know the news, but there's going to be an Elden Ring spinoff that's coming out next year. The exact date's unknown, but we do know it's coming next year. It seems to be more of a roguelike sort of survival game, more akin to Risk of Rain, one of my favorite roguelike games, or Dead Cells, another good one. And I gotta say, I didn't expect this. First off, you already know how people get about their From Software games, or really any game that they really like. They get protective over it. And a lot of those people will immediately jump to the conclusion of From Software is watering their brand down, they're ruining Elden Ring by turning it into a franchise, producing slop. And this is of course all being said after one trailer, a trailer that I actually thought was pretty interesting. I mean, obviously, I know people are picking apart the graphics, but what's wrong with that? I mean, the graphics are fine. I don't think this is going to be a AAA title. I'm sure this will be not a full price game, you know. Most people seem to be pretty sensible about this, and they're viewing it as it should be viewed. It's an experiment, you know. We're going to see how this pans out. It could be good, it could be bad. But look, I'm someone who really enjoyed Risk of Rain 1 and 2 and Remnant from the Ashes, so I really don't see the issue here. I think that this definitely has the potential to be pretty damn good, and I know a lot of people are saying, you know, well, there's been a lot of complaining about the reuse of assets because we got to see the Nameless King, I think Lady Maria, I think I saw a gaping dragon or maybe a centipede demon in the mix. We'll look over the trailer here in a second. But the most prominent of them was the Nameless King, and a lot of people saw that. It's like the number one comment I see everywhere. I think some people really aren't appreciating how cool this potentially could be. I mean, some of these bosses are quite old. Why wouldn't you want to see them brought into Elden Ring with new possible movesets, or, you know, like a updated one at least? I'm a huge fan of the Yakuza series, and they asset reuse all the time, and it's never really been a problem. I love pretty much every game in that franchise. For me, it's all in how it's used, but that's enough about the discourse surrounding this trailer that's only been up for like, what, a day? That's enough meandering, though. Let's get to the point of this video. So aside from the trailer, we also got this accompanying interview by IGN. Gotta love those guys, right? They get all the cool stuff, like interviewing Japanese game developers. Look, I've never wanted to be an interviewer at all. That's not something I ever wanted to get into. But after reading through this interview, the interviewer, man, it really could be anybody. And honestly, they would have done a better job than this guy. And sure, yeah, there's definitely worse interviewers out there. Have you ever seen Anthony Fantano try to interview a musician? It's quite painful. And, you know, look, the interview had a lot of useful information, so maybe the interviewer wasn't as bad as I'm, you know, giving him shit for. I think it's just his choice of words and how, like, these IGN guys, they're, like, kind of smug about everything. I don't know, that's just how it kind of comes off. I don't know if I would call it performative smugness, but that's definitely what it feels like. Like the interviewer is trying to get on Reddit's good side or something by being objectionable and asking questions. But at the same time, we haven't seen any of this gameplay. We haven't got to play any of it. So when they reference stuff we haven't seen, we have to do our own work in our minds to put the pieces together. Let's just put it this way. The interviewer definitely knew that a lot of people were going to be reading this interview because it's the only source of discourse we have on the game outside of articles covering the trailer that we all saw and can probably break down better than most of the journalism sites. Never been a big fan of IGN, but I mean, who has? Man, I keep getting sidetracked. I guess this is what happens when FromSoft decides to release a trailer for a spin-off while I'm in the middle of editing. So my opinions on the interviewer's side, the article had some useful information in it. So it's a co-op heavy survival game where you're basically dropped into a procedurally generated version of Limgrave with some minor changes here and there. There's like enemy camps, bosses to take out, and as each of these days progress, the landscape and the map will sort of change. Certain random things can happen, like a volcano could erupt and completely change part of the landscape where the volcano erupted at, or a meteor could strike and, alter it in that way. Now, it is co-op focused, but there is an option to play offline and solo, and I'm really thankful for that because there's games like Fallout 76 that don't have any offline or solo play, which make it sort of unplayable for me. I got nothing against co-op, but a game like Fallout should be played, or at least have the option to be played single player. I mean, shit, if this NightReign game turns out alright, I'll probably be playing co-op with a lot of you guys. I'll put some sort of a co-op password in my community post, or we'll figure it out when we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So the main goal, though, is to survive these 3 days and make it to the end, in which you're going to have to fight like the final boss of the session. Pretty common in these type of roguelike games. And you'll also be able to unlock things like relics to further customize your playstyle for your preferred character, or, just little things to change. And this is something that also exists in Risk of Rain, where you get relics and artifacts that you can use to augment stuff like movesets, specials, or even, grant you special abilities that you wouldn't normally have. Like, in Risk of Rain, there's one artifact that lets you choose which item you're going to get when you open up a treasure box. So I imagine it'll be stuff like that, upgrades your fighting style or play style, just stuff, normal stuff you'd see in this type of game. The gameplay looks interesting. We didn't really get a clear enough look at it for me to judge too seriously. But it seems like it has some elements of the natural Elden Ring play style and the jumping and the fighting, but it also seems like it might be a little more fast-paced. It might have more moves that take you flying into the air and hurling down to do like this ground and pound thing. Some people have said it's like Monster Hunter. I haven't really played much of these games. My biggest experience with Monster Hunter is hunting the monsters in Metal Gear Solid Peacemaker, or Peace Walker. But I'm told the gameplay of the Monster Hunter series looks a bit like what we saw in the trailer for this NightReign. One thing I noticed is the amount of returning characters. I know I talked a little bit about it already. Like there's the Nameless King I spotted. I think I saw the Gaping Dragon. I think someone else said they saw Lady Maria or someone who looked like her. It also seems like the player character is allying themselves with a Dark Souls era Firekeeper. All of that's probably definitely going to make some people who are into the whole shared universe theory, that's going to make a lot of them happy. But this is in some sort of an alternate timeline where the games do sort of interact with each other, possibly in some sort of like battle world type scenario or something like that. It seems that the encroaching night, whatever it is pulling past bosses into the world of Elden Ring for whatever reason. Aside from that, though, it also seems that Grace is going to be a bit different in NightReign than in the regular Elden Ring. At least from what I can tell in the interview, it seems like it's going to function sort of like the pyromancy warmth from the Dark Souls series, where it slowly heals you if you stand near it. Because the interviewer brought up that the Fel Omen would spawn as an event boss, and they would just lure him to a site of grace and fight him there because they were constantly regenerating health. So that'll definitely be interesting. I know some people are probably going to complain about that, or that it needs to be patched or something, but little things like that I don't really see the issue with, right? It's not like you're going to be able to lure every boss or every enemy to a site of grace to do them in. The mechanic that has me most interested, though, is the changes to the world as the 3-day period progresses. The meteor strike, for example, is that going to open up a previously unreachable section of the underground? And a new boss possibly? It's pretty cool if so. It'll of course probably lead to changes on the surface level, like maybe those star chasers will probably show up and start worshipping and collecting the rocks from the surrounding area. But the same goes with the volcano eruption. Will that open up a whole new, like a mini section and boss for us to go kill? Because that's pretty sick. And will it make the area surrounding the volcano covered in magma or altered? It definitely seems like the direction they're leaning in. There's a lot of bosses that aren't necessarily bosses from Elden Ring or previous games, or at least there's a handful of them that I saw. It looked like there's one that's basilisk themed, where it's got like the basilisk eyes, but it's like a dude. There's these black Japanese folklore nine-tailed fox looking enemies that are really, really cool. They look like they're asset flips of the Red Wolf of Radagon. There's like a Cerberus looking one as well, I think I saw in the mix. Definitely a lot of cool designs that I wish would have just been in regular Elden Ring, even if they are just reskins. And the arena they're fought in looks an awful lot like those red dunes where the Festival of Radon is held. I know it's still too early to tell and a lot of people are complaining about the graphics, but I do really think this is like a AA game. I really don't think it's going to have like a $60 or $70 price tag. I'll probably most certainly get my money's worth, but again, if it is bad, you'll definitely have a video from me coming out saying so, because I'm not going to lie. That being said, the director of this game came off as pretty likable in his interview, I thought. He mentions how he ran the idea past Miyazaki, and Miyazaki greenlighted it. He liked what he was doing, and I think he just kind of let him do his own thing, which I've already seen some people say, oh, you know what happens when a Souls game is made without Miyazaki? Look at Dark Souls 2. They'll say that whole tired thing. And if you don't like Dark Souls 2, you're completely, it's your right to not like it. But the whole narrative of it being bad because he wasn't involved or because he was working on Bloodborne is like, it's completely false. I mean, there's so much more to it than just it being that simple. Plus, the director of Dark Souls 2 was the co-lead of Elden Ring, and I believe the lead director of The Shadow of the Erdtree, which I had no issue with. I know some people have complaints about everything, and that's completely valid. But I think the guy has proved himself to me, and I know some people will blame him for the bad parts of Elden Ring for sure. But look, I love Dark Souls 2, so I think Tanamura rocks. That being said, I believe the director of this game, who, let's look up his name real quick because I already forgot it, my bad. Junya Ishikazi, and it's kind of a trip. If you type the first 3 letters of his name, it already comes up in Google. So people have been scrutinizing this guy since the news broke. But he seems like an alright guy. I mean, we'll have to just wait and see. I believe this is his first game he's fully directing, so again, it's not going to be perfect. I'm not expecting it to be. I'm expecting it to be a sort of mashup between Risk of Rain, Elden Ring, and Remnant from the Ashes. 3 games that I really enjoy. And again, I think it would be a fun game to play mindlessly. And I think that it's interesting to even have this idea in the first place. To make this co-op focused, soul-style, boss rushing kind of game. You know, with the roguelike randomized world and encounters. That's just, it's a really original idea. It's sort of like an expansion of the idea that we saw in the Chalice dungeons. And you have to at least appreciate the balls it takes to attempt something like this. And I think maybe, maybe if people don't focus too much on the graphics, he actually might impress a lot of people. Again, I don't really have a problem with the graphics. That's just the main thing I keep seeing people talking about. Like I said, though, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm hopeful that it'll be good, but if it isn't good, in my opinion, then you'll definitely hear me talk about that. I'm just willing to give it a chance. It's an experiment that I haven't seen done before, and I always like that in gaming, when people take a risk, when they, attempt something that hasn't necessarily been done before, like he's doing his own spin on the roguelike genre with Elden Ring as its template. All I can really say is that I'm interested, and when they do early access, I'm going to try and get on that, and you'll hear my honest thoughts then when I finally get to play it. Now, in that same interview I was talking about, they asked the director of this game, a guy who has worked on previous FromSoft titles like Dark Souls 1 and Bloodborne, and I believe Elden Ring. They asked him about the game's lore. Basically asking, how does it fit in with Elden Ring's lore? Where does it take place? The director explained that he didn't want to overstep or overwrite any of the lore or storylines from the main Elden Ring game, so this sort of takes place in an alternate universe where the shattering happened, but something different happened after. Something having to do with a Lord of Night and the encroaching night. And since this is a lore-focused channel, amongst other things, I'm going to have to go into this a little bit. So in Elden Ring, the Lord of Night is the prophesized hero and leader of the Nox people in the underground ruined cities of Noxtella, Nokron, and a nameless eternal city that was presumably destroyed either by the roots of the Erdtree or a cosmic space bug sent by the Greater Will. And from what I can tell in the trailer, the Night seems like it's this corrupting influence that's taking over the Lands Between, or these alternate version of the Lands Between. As a lore guy, I'm going to try and, probably cover all the lore I can in this game, but I definitely don't think it's going to be the main focus in my head while I'm playing it, like in the same way that it is when I'm playing Elden Ring, for example. When I'm playing Elden Ring, I'm on the hunt. I'm always looking for little snippets of lore, and I think with NightReign, I'm probably going to play it a lot more mindlessly. I will be looking for little bits of lore. If I see something that interests me, I'm going to investigate, and I'm definitely going to cover it. But it seems like a game you'd play after you had a long-ass day. You just want to relax and mindlessly play something, then boom, pop in NightReign. I mean, we'll have to wait and see if it's worthy of such a beloved position, but I think it definitely has potential. I didn't expect much from Remnant from the Ashes, and I loved it. I didn't expect much from Ashen. I loved that. There's a lot of games that I expected to be painfully average that turned out to be really memorable for me. One last thing I wanted to cover, though, was the bird-like thing that looks like it's working as a glider from Breath of the Wild. Apparently that isn't something that we're just going to be able to do at will. It's sort of just in set places to traverse probably massive gaps from one landmass to another. It's basically like the Spirit Song things that we use Torrent to jump through. Other than that, though, I don't really know how much in the way of transportation we're going to have. We don't have a torrent, and it seems like most of the people in the trailer were running, so it's going to be an on-foot type of thing, which I guess makes sense since the mounts were disabled in co-op in Elden Ring anyway. So it probably goes without saying, too, that the survival aspect of this game means that when you die, you have to start over from the beginning. That's sort of just par for the course for these types of games. You kind of just play them in sessions, you play a nice couple rounds after you get off work. It helps with the unwinding rituals, or it did for me at least. I mean, shit, I still play Risk of Rain pretty frequently. I was also reading that there's going to be unlockable alternative skins for each of these 9 characters that we can pick to play as. And I know that's pretty common for these types of games. Risk of Rain even has that. If you get the mastery for each character, then you unlock an alternate outfit for them. I've seen the game called a live service game a lot, and I believe they even clarified a little bit ago that it is not a live service game. It's just a co-op heavy sort of roguelike game. I know I probably said that word too many fucking times in this video, but you get what I mean. And it's definitely the right time to be skeptical when it comes to buying a video game or kind of any game that comes out. But I think, I have faith in Junya Ishikazi. I think he'll deliver a pretty solid game. I mean, this is his idea that from the inception, he brought it to Miyazaki and was like, hey, I want to do this. And Miyazaki saw promise in it and, let him do it. So if you have faith in Miyazaki, you should probably have faith in Ishikazi because, that's who gave him the go-ahead, the green light. But I think that's everything I wanted to get to involving this trailer. Obviously, I'll have more to say about NightReign in the coming weeks. But until then, I gotta finish this little slew of videos I have planned that were supposed to come out in a succession. So we'll see how I can pull that off. But as always, I hope you guys found this video to be at least somewhat amusing or entertaining or informative. If you liked it, please like it. If you disliked it, please dislike it. And if you like hearing me ramble on about these various topics or sudden news in the FromSoft universe, please consider subscribing. It really helps the channel out. We just recently cracked 30K, something that I can't thank you guys enough for. And if you feel like supporting the channel for whatever reason, you can find me on Honored Madman at Patreon. I'll probably put it in the description, but that's enough e-begging for now. Let's have our outro and then the final thoughts, shall we? If you guys are looking for a good lore breakdown of the trailer, look no further than friend of the show, Smotown's channel. I imagine most of you are already subscribed to him, but he came out with one this morning that I started listening to when I was editing, and then I decided, I need to make my own little take on this before I listen to somebody else's. The guy's work speaks for itself. I mean, the dedication it takes to produce those super long lore videos he does. Nothing short of inspirational, and he's always got a pretty good grasp on things. And he's shown me nothing but support, so, this is the quickest way to becoming my favorite FromSoft-based channel. Anyway, though, isn't it kind of impressive how FromSoft managed to keep this quiet? I mean, I didn't hear any trace of this. In fact, when I saw the trailer thing pop up on my YouTube, I thought it was just another, mod, like the Elden Ring Convergence mod, part 2 or something. Then I see it's from Bandai Namco Europe, and I'm like, wait, what? Is this another Elden Ring DLC? And I'm quickly, scrolling to see what it is, and I just decide to watch the trailer, and boom. It's like a fast-paced, co-op heavy, roguelike Elden Ring, and those are all things I enjoy. So, in my head, it's like, how can it be bad? But I've been, I've had that outlook before. I've thought, how can something be bad? And it's ended up being bad before. It's kind of why I'm scared to play the new Dragon Age. Now, I grew up on Dragon Age Origins, a game I've been wanting to make videos on forever. I didn't really grow up on it. I think I was 13 when it came out, but I was a big fan of that, a big fan of Mass Effect as well. But I've always really, Dragon Age Origins has always had a special place in my heart. And I even enjoyed Dragon Age 2. I know a lot of people didn't, and, for good reason. They reused a lot of assets in a very non-creative way, as far as I'm concerned. But I liked the characters in that game, and I liked the dynamics, the relationships, all of that's fun stuff. But for whatever reason, when Inquisition came out, I just couldn't force myself to get into it. And then years later, I did get into it, and then you'd think when this Velgard game comes out, I'd be like, oh, hell yeah. But I looked into it a little bit, and the character designs have changed. I don't really know how much of the lore has been altered in a way that isn't so great. I haven't looked into that much, but there's just something about it that's keeping me from playing the game, and I think it's just I'm afraid it'll ruin my love of the franchise if I don't like it. It wouldn't retroactively ruin Origins for me. That game is literally like it's engraved in my mind as one of the games I love. But basically, I'm saying I understand why some people are a little hesitant about this game. This NightReign game. They're very cautious about it because we've seen stuff go bad before. And some people don't want it to ruin any future installments, giving them a chance because, like I said, it took me forever to get into Inquisition, and I did kind of enjoy it. I didn't like it as much as the previous two, but I have a feeling Velgard could be even worse. I mean, maybe it'll be better. I don't know. If any of you guys have played it, let me know, but I probably rambled on long enough after my outro, so this was always going to be more of a rant video anyway, but if you ever wondered what my upcoming podcast style hour-long rants are going to seem like on my Patreon, it's probably going to be a lot of this, me getting distracted and going off on tangents. So if you're into that kind of thing, definitely hit that up. It's going to start really soon as I get a better mic. This one's kind of taking a crap on me, but I'll be seeing you guys really soon. I got a lot of videos that are in various stages of development. One of them is coming close. It's about the true nature of the relationship and the vow of Radon and Mikola and all that good stuff. And then I got one on the Black Knives. I got all the footage for these. I just got to record the audio for the Black Knives and edit the video for the other one, so it shouldn't take me too long, but this time of year things always come up. Just know I'm shooting for it to be really soon. But until then, I will see you guys next time. Happy holidays. I hope everything's going good for you guys. But yeah, I'll see you next time. Be safe. See ya.